November, friends, family, and Facebook associates who are tuning in live with us today on Chet Chats. I'm Shy Ridgely here with my dad. Chet, as always, we have some shout outs that we want to give thanks to, so I'm going to pass it on over.
Yes, hi Shy. Nice seeing you again. Yes, I'd like to thank our sponsors again, Absolutely99.com, Changing Lives at Home, Hefe Hair, LA Cruiser, Premier Tag and Title, opening their 5th location, as well as Synergy. Thank y'all for the sponsorship, as always. Now, turning it back over to Shy.
Thank you, Dad.
You're welcome.
All right, Dad. So today, as always, me and my many questions, I chose the topic of discussing parent-children relationships, which I think was maybe uncanny timing with your questions you were asking me and my siblings last night. So my first question, Dad, is there such a thing or something that constitutes as a normal parent-children relationship?
First, let me tell y'all how she got to this. So I don't know. She came in the house yesterday, and then I don't know what we were really talking about. We were just communicating with each other. And then I asked myself, how do y'all rate me as a parent? And from a 1 to 10, 10 being an effective parent, or 1 being the least effective parent. So I then sent out texts to her other 2 siblings to get their ratings. And that's how I believe she decided to talk about that today. Is that correct?
It can be, if that's what floats your boat.
Okay. That's what floats my boat. All right. So now what are your questions?
Okay, so my question is, because I feel as though I have a very strong relationship with both you and my mom. And I feel like that's because of how we were raised with the belief kind of that your intermediate family is your support system. So there should be no secrets between anyone, I guess, who's in that specific household. So my question is there there's no rule book for parenting, or that I know of anyway, like a hard rule book that everyone follows. So is there, I guess, how do you guys go about parenting? How do you know if you're parenting the right way? How do you know if you're sharing too much or too little with your kids? I guess, what is there a baseline? Is there a baseline for being a good parent, essentially?
Well, honestly,
in your opinion.
Okay, yes, that's what I said, in my opinion. Honestly, in parenting, I believe it's a hard occupation.
Yeah.
It's a hard career. And those who are good parenting are doing a good job. I commend all of y'all on parenting. Please chime in if you have any good tips on how to be an effective parent to your children. For me, I grew up in a single mother household. Mm-hmm. So one of the things that I wanted to do is not repeat that cycle and try to have a 2-parent household if possible, that if children come about, we rear to the best of our abilities. So with that being said, I don't think I'm a traditional type parent. I don't believe so, because I was taught to, for me, it was to inform y'all on every possible aspects of life. And then hopefully y'all can come out with a positive result from that aspect. Mm-hmm. So that's one of the things I view parenting. And again, I didn't read any manuals, in which I should perhaps read some more manuals, but I just felt my abilities that I knew, and then looking at other people that did or were raised in 2-parent households. And that was very rare in my neighborhood growing up. Right. I only believe it was 2 families or 3 tops that had a mother and father in the same household. So, wow. Yeah. So unfortunately, Unfortunately, that was my guide to go by. Mm-hmm. But fortunately, I knew from my innate that it was something more, or potentially of being a better parent with 2 effective parents in the household. Mm-hmm. Did I answer your question? Because I'm not sure if I even answered your question.
I think so, yeah. I think for me it's different because, I feel as though I always went to very elite type of school. So I was always surrounded by families who had 2-parent households. So that was my view of what a household should look like. And I think
until my absentees.
Right. But I think that even before that, it's because of how you and mom grew up in that kind of household, it was, you kind of wanted us to see something different that wasn't what it was that you were growing. So do you think that, I guess, is that part of parenting? Is part of parenting bettering as a whole the views that you want your children to see because you didn't see that?
Well, to me,
does that make sense?
Yeah, you're making sense, and I'm going through so much going through my mind because I'm going.
Topic.
Yeah, it's a big topic, and I'm going back to relate, things that that I saw or didn't see growing up as a parent. And then we have Carlos. Thanks for chiming in. We'll get back to you.
There's some other ones that have Nicole also. Hi, Miss April. Go ahead.
Yeah. So, I'm sorry. So anyway, to answer that, I really believe. And maybe I'm not even going to answer your question.
Yeah,
I'm just going to go what's in my mind, right? Forgive me. So I just believe if you give your children all the necessary tools, as many opportunities, as many understandings to speak the truth, then we could potentially come out with the best outcome. With that being stated, so I didn't want to lie to y'all.
Right.
I didn't want to. When it came to sex, when it came to sports, when it came to any activities or subject matters as it relates to you growing into young adulthood, I believe your mother and I wanted to expose y'all to it, whether it was good or bad. But we wanted to give you the keys to the car, as they say, so then you can make the decision on what lane you choose to travel down as it relates to your decision making. And for me, one of the biggest things, again, I believe being a two-parent household is effective, but if it's only one parent in there, that just means, unfortunately, a lot of times they have to do double work, double the career in trying to rear you. And so I wanted to tell y'all everything. And I like the rating that y'all gave me, a 0.9 overall. So that's not bad as a parent, I guess. And again, there's always room to improvement, in my opinion, because as I said, I'm always learning.
Right.
So if I'm always learning, some of the things that I might have didn't teach y'all when y'all were younger, I could perhaps teach you now. So did that answer your question, Bonnie? Because today, boy, just parenting, and it got me all shook up because all those who know me, they know that I missed a significant part physically of y'all childhood growing up.
Yeah.
And I have to commend Michelle for doing an excellent job in the village that helped y'all. And there's too many, my mom specifically, and it's too many to actually name on the air. And for all those that did help rear my children upon my physical absence, I appreciate it. It's not gone unnoticed. Thank y'all very much. I'm sorry I had to get that out because that was on my mind, because I didn't do it by myself to rear y'all into productive young adults now. So I'm very thankful through the grace of God and those who help make that possible.
So then my other thing is going back to touching base on what you said, that you and my mom have always kind of kept it really honest. We've always had, I feel like, open dialogue with you guys. And what I've noticed is that a lot of my friends don't speak as openly about subjects that we do with each other. And so my question is, I don't necessarily think it's like wrong that they don't, but do you think that comes because they don't feel as though they can maybe trust their parents as much, or that their parents maybe don't understand? It's like, where is the middle line? Because with us, it's like we weren't allowed really to keep secrets from you guys. I mean, even if we had secrets, they weren't secrets because y'all knew before we even said anything.
Right. Well, I think a lot of times happened with parents as they grew up under the philosophies and ideologies as well as theologies that they grew up under in their household. So they tend to pass that along to the next generation or household as they develop or make their own household. So with me, and I believe in your mom, and again, I can't speak for your mother, I can only speak for me, that we did not want y'all to be sideswiped by anything, blindsided as they call it. By anything. So we always talk openly. So we didn't really have a lot of taboos that we hid behind, because a lot of parents don't like talking about sex, but I think it's important to talk about sex. A lot of parents don't like to talk about drugs. I think it's important to talk about drugs. A lot of people don't want to talk about this or that, whatever it may be.
Like this harder kind of conversation.
Yeah, the harder conversations, because sometimes it can be awkward. For parent-child relationship, and even the child being outright honest about the topic, subject matter, and whatnot. And again, for me, Carlos, I get that it's two different styles of parenting, but I believe the parents should come together to discuss their type of style of parenting that they choose to. I don't disagree with you. You know, you have different ideas and understanding, but when you're trying to build a cohesive unit, I think the household should come together and direct that.
A common core.
A common core, right. Had common core principles, loyalty, honor, and respecting that. And again, the judgment is because, like Carlos said, that you have two different individuals.
Mm-hmm.
And if those same individuals aren't on the same page and trying to complete the same task, then you will get a division, in my opinion.
I would like to specifically shout you and my mom each out, because there weren't a lot of, I mean, growing up, and now that you guys are divorced too, there are some times where I felt like y'all weren't necessarily in agreement on a lot of things, but you guys always remained on the same page when it came to Chelsea, Chet, and I. And so I think that's something that takes a lot of, I don't know if it's courage or respect or what it is, but for parents who don't necessarily, they are willing to put aside their own issues with each other for the betterment of their children. And I really do commend your mom for doing that, because I feel like Chelsea, Chet, and I are great characters because you guys were doing that.
Thank you. And I pride myself on principle, loyalty, and honor. Yeah, you know, and anybody that know me, I try to stand for something, because I ain't falling for everything. I have fell for some things, but I've gotten back up. However, I just thank you for that. I appreciate that, Sha. That's very nice.
Well, I mean, it makes it easier. It's kind of like, I don't know. I know at the end of the day, I can go to either you or mom. I mean, you guys might not have the same responses to things, but a general baseline, I always know that I will get relatively the same answer from the both of you.
Yes.
Because you guys have always been on the same page when it comes to me, Chelsea, and Chet.
Yes. Hey, Alan. And yes, and me and your mother took a vow, you know, even though, like you stated, that we're not together physically in a marriage anymore, but we did take a vow to try to rear our children differently than how we were reared upon growing up. And we made, you know, education was important to us, to make sure y'all got y'all proper education, and all those who helped make that possible. Thank you.
Shout out.
Yeah, shout out. And so we stayed to the core of a lot of the things, even though in our relationship did not pan out or work out the way that we thought it should work out. Right. We made a vow to make sure that our children got the best of everything possible, and taught y'all not to spoil y'all, because I don't think spoiling is an effective tool, but we did try to involve y'all in all aspects of life.
So is that part of parenting too? Is part of parenting, I guess, putting aside your personal differences for the betterment of your offsprings?
Absolutely. I think that's extremely important, because some parents, because they get so caught up in their idea that they disregard the other parent's idea, and that the other parent idea could have really been a better idea for the situation at the time, but they got emotionally attached to their idea and didn't want to let go of that. So oftentimes it affects the child or children in the household. And I think if people have children, you know, and remember this, people, and y'all might say this, be mindful whoever you sleep with, because I didn't understand this at all when I was younger. You could potentially have a child, even though you might say you want to get together for sex. It's a sidebar, but I just want people to know. So some people you might not want to have a child with. So you might not want to have sex with them, because their energy levels, their understanding is nowhere near yours. And again, guys or females, you might be like, I just want to have a good time to have a sexual encounter. But that sexual encounter could produce a child, whether you on, you know, pills, some type of birth controls, or using condoms. So that was just a sidebar. So be mindful of who you sleep with. That's all. Because I'm glad, yes, that's for me. That's in my mind. So anyway, getting back, you know, I just believe if the parents, whether married, unmarried, in the same household or not, if they come together and believe the child's best interests or children's best interests are at heart when they decide to do this, I think you could have a positive outcome. I really do. And me personally, I like some people, I believe I want to be your best friend, but your your parent first. Does that make sense?
Yes, that definitely makes sense.
Right, because
I think there's a line, there's a very like thin line between the two though, because I know that growing up, it was always, because you guys have always said that to all of us, I think, that's like your parents first, but then you guys are our best friends second. And as a kid, it was like, what do you mean? So it's like you kind of have this idea when I was younger that, okay, I can talk to my parents how I talk to my friends, but that was never the case, right? So it's like your parents first. I guess it gets confusing as a child, but the older you get, it makes more sense. So it's like the other day one of my coworkers asked if I like how close I was with my parents, and it's like, well, they're my best friends. And it kind of it took her aback, because she's like, so you talk about everything with them? Like, honestly, yeah, it's like, if I can't talk to my parents about something, then I feel like there's something wrong there. I feel like I should always be able to come to you, whether or not I want your answer. And a lot of times I don't, because I know y'all are right.
Because we were y'all at one time ourselves.
It's like, I'm going to come to you because I know that there's nobody who has my best interest at heart, what goes back to what you're saying, than my parents.
Absolutely. And I'm glad that you choose to come to us, whether it's your mother or I. And I understand that for me, it's important that you be able to openly express yourself without conditions.
Right.
You know, without being subject to ridicule or even, you know, being praised.
Well, I think as a kid, as a child in the relationship, I think there sometimes is that hesitation or that fear that we don't know how y'all are going to react. So it's like there should be no secrets, but because there's that kind of like, oh my gosh, like they're going to be really mad or disappointed or something like that, it kind of pushes us not to talk to you guys about certain things.
I get that, but what children and young adults must understand, that we were once y'all.
Right.
So we've been through a lot of the things that y'all going through or been through, you know, and for the most part, I'm not saying we covered everything you went through growing up, because
or to the same extent.
Or to the same extent. Yes, like
right.
peer pressure,
yeah.
You know, relationships. Mm-hmm. These are things that I think a lot of the young children do not understand, that it's cool, especially if you have a family that loves you. Mm-hmm. Talk to them. 9 times out of 10, they can provide you with a good answer that I'm not saying you have to follow that answer,
right.
But you will have a tool at your disposal to be of use. And I think a lot of times children run out to people their age, their peers, and be honestly, most peers aren't as intelligent as a lot of parents. I'm not trying to be boisterous about this. And the reason I say that is because life experiences got us this far. Mm-hmm. Y'all, a lot of younger children have not had, I have 50 years of experience now. Mm-hmm. You only had 22. Yeah. So that's 18 years difference of experience, 28 years difference, 28 years difference of experience. I forgot your math is a little slower. So with that being stated, I think we are more qualified, and this might be a biased opinion,
right.
But I believe most parents are more qualified to help you than somebody your same age. I'm not saying people of your age aren't intellectually sound. I'm not saying that, but I think we have more life experiences than people that are younger. Mm. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah. Hey, Donald, Terrence, what's happening? Trinae, thank y'all for all joining in. Please have any, so, you know, if you want to chime in, comments, and we'll try to answer them as we you know, talk to one another. This is more of a, even though it's a chat show, co-host Shy, it's more interaction with the people, because we're trying to involve people so we can have more of a positive energy throughout the universe. Is that about
definitely.
Right? Yeah.
Dialogue's important. I think that's something that you stress a lot too. Dialogue is like, it's super to have, and just to have that open conversation and dialogue again with everything. But one of my questions, Dad, and
go ahead.
We're winding down a little bit of time, is how
we don't try to keep the people.
I guess how do you know if you're a good parent, or if you're parenting well, or if you're actually bettering your children? Because I know it's like, I feel as though as a kid, especially when you're younger, you don't really think about, oh, am I being a good kid? You're kind of told one way or the other if what you're doing is good or your actions are bad, you know what I mean? But then it's like, as you get older, for me personally, it's like, oh, if I'm doing what I believe I'm supposed to do, that makes me a great child. Like I'm displaying what my parents have instilled in me well, if I'm successful in my own rights. Does that make sense? So how do you guys know if you're doing a good job?
Well, one of my criteria, if I know that if I'm doing a good job, is that y'all wake up wanting to learn something new every day.
Mm-hmm.
That's one of my criteria that I believe if you're waking up and you're trying to, for me, can't speak for your mother, Michelle, but for me, if you're waking up every day trying to be a more positive person for yourself, for your family, for your friends, for your community, and then for the world, I believe I'm doing a good job.
Mm-hmm.
I believe that. But if you're waking up every day and you're trying to be a negative person, then I don't believe I have done an effective job. I'm not going to say you're not going to have negative days, but I'm just saying if we're doing a 100% chart, if you're waking up 80 to 90% trying to better yourself, better the things I just stated, then to me, I have done a good job. A good career. I like to call it a career because a job, you can come and go with a job.
Never ending.
As a parent, I don't believe, even me, I'm still getting parented and I'm 50 years old. Hello, Mom. I had to give her a shout out. But yeah, I'm still getting parenting 50 years later. So I don't think a parenting I think it's a career, not a job.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So I guess then, Dad, I agree with this comment too.
Go ahead, tell them what it said.
So the comment reads back, "Hey Chet, I think communicate with your kids, finds out what their issues are, and use your experiences to try to relate with things of that era," which I agree with.
Hey Trinae, thanks Trinae for joining. Terrence, absolutely. Communication, parents, is key. Do not be afraid of your child. Children and young adults, do not be afraid of your parents. Come together as a group and communicate. As I stated a quote, communication is the key to clarity as well as confusion. Mm-hmm. I stated that quote last week, and I believe if parents and children and young adults come together and effectively communicate with one another, I think outcomes will start to be better. Do not be afraid. It might be a taboo issue with yourself, but it might not be a taboo issue with others. Mm-hmm. So be willing to be open, be invulnerable, and try to be unconditional. Because sometimes I think I'm a conditional parent at times. I mean, that might sound crazy, but sometimes I do. And, because I feel that and I'm not trying to be conditional, but I just think I am conditional, at times with being a parent. And I try to work on that as being always unconditional as a parent. See, whether it's a fault or not, I'm willing to admit that. I can't speak for every other parent, but for me, sometimes I am a conditional parent, and I try not to be a conditional parent. I try not to be a conditional friend. Mm-hmm. So I try to work on being unconditional, if that's possible.
Last question.
Mm-hmm. Hey, Lawrence.
I mean, I have so many questions,
go ahead.
But I'll make this my last question.
Yeah, because we try to stay on time frame for the people.
So my last question, Dad, then would be, what is the advice you would give to both children and parents who might not have the bond or relationship that we have? Because I think that our relationship has definitely grown since you've been home, and then since me moving out here. I feel like I know a completely other side of you now. You know what I'm saying? But my question is, what advice would you give to those who maybe don't have as strong as a relationship or bond with their children, and how? What would you say?
How to improve it. I will come together, have a meeting, a phone conversation. I would rather be face to face.
Okay.
And then sit down with your parents and siblings and communicate. Actually tell what's on your mind. Be honest in this conversation with each other, and then set up a strategy of plans and actions to carry out to improve each day. It's not a one-time thing. It's a lifetime thing. Mm-hmm. So I think you should plan out and continue this journey together to better yourself and come together once a week, every other week, or whenever time allows, and sit down and hash out things. Because sometimes, children, you don't know what your parents went through to get you to where you are. And sometimes, honestly,
it's so true.
And again, I'm not trying to, take up the time because then we're on the time frame, but be mindful of that. You have no idea what sacrifices were made to get you where you are today. in an awesome time, the parent don't even share that sacrifice, and maybe the parent might need to. So people then can like to have a different perspective. That toy under your tree, you know, that birthday gift, that car, that any possible thing.
I think even little things, picking you
Right.
up from school, taking you to school, feeding
taking you to your
like,
extracurricular activities.
right.
People don't know there are sacrifices being made to make this happen. And sometimes for me, when I see children don't appreciate their parent or parents, I get offended a little bit by that, because I'm like, they don't know what, because 9 times out of 10, if you're not a trust fund baby, somebody paying for these activities. And it's not you as the child normally.
Right.
So that's why I get a little offended when I see some children being ungrateful to their parents. You know,
That's a whole other conversation.
That's a whole nother topic. I'm
that
sorry.
Drives me bananas, but yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Well, then, with that being said, please share your comments and your thoughts. I feel like this is another one of those topics where I know that a lot of y'all will tune in later and have opinions on things. So please communicate with us. Let us know what you're thinking, how you go about your parent-children relationships, or how you witness other people raise their kids and what your thoughts are there, etc. And then
thank y'all again for joining in, those who commented, as she stated, and all. And I also like to thank everyone that took the time out to absentee vote on election day. Please, people die for this right. Don't let that right go away. Vote, learn who you're voting for. It's very important. Everybody always say it don't count, but I believe it does count. You know, whether how big and small. And thank all those who voted. I've been putting that on my pages. Hefe been putting it on his pages, chats. It's extremely important. Continue to get out and vote. Register. If you're 18, get registered to vote, please, because it's important that you get registered to vote and exercise this right. As soon as you turn 18, get out there and register to vote. And people keep registering, people, and all those who are doing a fabulous job with voters registration. I appreciate it. Please get out there and vote. Thank y'all for those who vote. Thank you for joining us again for Chat Chats. Much love. Peace out.